It's time for episode 82 of The Crisis Show here on Google Hangouts, on YouTube, and wherever else you have this link around the world. Good afternoon from New York City. My name is Rich Klein. I'm president of Rich Klein Crisis Management and founder and host of The Crisis Show, now seen in more than 115 countries. Today we're going to talk about the stained reputation of that well-known apparel company, retailer, Urban Outfitters, which is headquartered in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The news of the last couple of days about Urban Outfitters, of course, is regarding a sweatshirt that was put up on sale by the company that had the words Kent State across the top with blood stains on it. To say the least, in very poor taste, really poor judgment. So there's a lot of things I want to talk about in this abbreviated edition of The Crisis Show today. First of all, we use this show to educate, and so one of the lessons here is that if you're a company or an organization that gets itself in trouble, makes a mistake like this, the court of public opinion will typically give you a pass when you make a mistake like that for the first time, and maybe even the second time. Unfortunately for Urban Outfitters, however, this is one in a long series of major controversies they've become embroiled in, major PR disasters that date back to, I think it's 2003. They've had a series of logos and statements that have been offensive to many different groups of people. And we'll talk about some of those a little bit later. But you have to wonder here whether this company is deliberately doing this to garner attention or that they just keep making the same mistake. I believe they are doing this intentionally and believe that this is going to boost sales. What I was drawn to earlier today in doing some research for the show was an article, a feature article about the company in its hometown newspaper, the Philadelphia Inquirer. I'm going to see if I can find that for a moment. Yeah, here we go. So back in May, the Philadelphia Inquirer did a story, headline, "As its hip slips, Urban Outfitters refocuses." And there's a very interesting quote here from the founder and chief executive, Richard Klein. And in the article, he states, clearly, there is still much work to be done for Urban to regain its fashion footing. This is a quote from him in this May 25th, 2014 story. The reporter then writes, "It is uncertain how it happened, but Urban has lost a bit of its mojo with its target market, 18 to 28-year-olds. Hain, in speaking to Financial Analyst Monday, put the onus squarely on his team. Quote, "We believe there is no fundamental structural changes in the young adult market," he said. "There are, of course, fashion changes, and the success of each brand depends on the accuracy with which it predicts those changes." And then it says, the article goes on, "Urban has been feverishly working to improve its aim. It's getting help from Meg Hain, Richard's wife." Anyway, so a quote from Meg Hain to analysts said, we are working on a look and a voice that is unique to Urban Outfitters." So almost prophetic in the sense that they're trying to find their voice, I guess, and taking even bigger risks to incur controversy and to hurt their reputation. I tweeted out yesterday that I thought the initial statement they put out was just one of the worst brand apologies I've ever seen. It really denied the truth, I believe, that this was an intentional move. And for the company to say that the red stains on the sweatshirt were not supposed to be blood is just a real reach for the truth, a real stretch. So it's one thing to make a mistake in a crisis. It's another not to own up to it and apologize sincerely. Just saying "I'm sorry" with an excuse is the same as not making an apology at all. There really has to be a full apology and a real sincerity behind it, and really getting to the truth of what happened. And Urban Outfitters, this time, and I believe in the past as well, when they've offended other people, other groups of people, They have just said, well, we're sorry if it offended you. We didn't intend it. But the fact remains that I find it very hard to believe that a company that is a global company of this size and stature can continually make these kinds of product mistakes, if you will, without. In other words, how does this get through the assembly line? How does it get through the design phase, the creativity phase, with no one stepping out and saying, "Hey, this could be offensive"? So this seems to me to be a calculated effort by the company, an act of desperation to as Richard Hain, I believe, said, get its mojo back, or the report of the Philadelphia Inquirer said to get its mojo back. This appears to be an act of desperation, and it's really unfortunate because clearly it was very offensive to the families of the victims at Kent State, the families of the 4 people who were shot and killed in 1970, and to the reputation of Kent State. And Kent State really handled it in a very classy way. They put out their own statement without naming Urban Outfitters. They really took it to them. And of course, as expected, social media was on fire about this. So was the media. This is a big story. And maybe that was the intention of Urban Outfitter executives. But they're going to have to weigh the risk-reward ratio, if you will, of putting out a product like this, incurring the wrath, and then determining if it actually boosts sales. I like to believe, because I found it very offensive, as I found earlier products they put out very offensive. I like to believe that people will boycott the store and not support them at all, and that their revenues go down. I think it's really important that the public teaches these brands a lesson when they do things like this. Society is better than this. And I also think that Urban Outfitters, like other companies, are really out of touch with their target market, whether it's 18 to 28-year-olds or 35 to 50-year-olds. We see this over and over again, where people are trying to be cute or controversial or sexy, and they really cross ethical lines and moral lines when they do that. And most people see it for what it is. In addition, to spend $129 for a sweatshirt, I'm from the old school, I can't see that at all, but that's a whole nother story. So let's look at some of their the news and some of the reaction and some of the statements that surrounded this controversy. So we're going to, first of all, call up their statement that was put out yesterday, which would have been Tuesday. Let me just see if I can pull that up here for you. By the way, while I'm doing that, there's also a very good story in the Cleveland Plain Dealer from yesterday, September 15th, that headlined, "Urban Outfitters is no stranger to controversies over its fashion and product lines." Gives a really interesting history going back. And by the way, Wikipedia goes back too and does this and shows the chronology, going back to as early as 2003, when Urban Outfitters angered the African American community with a Monopoly knockoff called Ghetto Poly. They've also offended Jews. They've offended the Native Americans. They've promoted drinking. Just a whole bunch of stuff over the last 11 or 12 years. So we're going to call up that statement here. Let me just see if I can find that. With you, we'll pull that up. Okay, so they tweeted out yesterday their statement. I'm going to blow this up and then share it on the screen here. Okay, so we're just going to make that a little bit bigger, and then I'm going to read you the statement and give you some analysis in a moment. Okay, so the statement that was tweeted out yesterday, September 15th, "Urban Outfitters sincerely apologizes for any offense our vintage Kent State sweatshirt may have caused. It was never our intention to allude to the tragic events that took place at Kent State in 1970, and we are extremely saddened that this item was perceived as such. The one-of-a-kind item was purchased as part of our sun-faded vintage collection. There is no blood on this shirt, nor has this item been altered in any way. The red stains are discoloration from the original shade of the shirt, and the holes are from natural wear and fray. Again, we deeply regret that this item was perceived negatively, and we have removed it immediately from our website to avoid further upset. Now, a couple of problems here. First of all, to say that there was no intention of putting blood stains on the shirt, it's very disingenuous to the public. I think it's pretty obvious to most people what that was and what that represented. That's number one. Number two, the company should have gone much further than this. They should have explained why they decided to do this. If, in fact, it was a mistake, again, I mentioned earlier, this company has a history of these kinds of mistakes, so it becomes less and less believable when you continually issue these kinds of products. So it came across as insincere, came across as really, frankly, a lie that they didn't intend to do this. And by the way, folks, you don't wait until the whole world is attacking you in the media, on social media, before you issue a statement and say, okay, we screwed up, we're going to pull the shirt. Best time to correct your mistake is as early as possible in the crisis, and it shouldn't take the media and a social media wildfire for you to get to that point. Whenever a new product is launched or a new service, depending on the company you have to very quickly, immediately, take the pulse of the marketplace and to make sure that whatever you're putting out there to the world is being accepted by the public. This was obviously, as soon as people got wind of this sweatshirt, they immediately were tweeting about it. Urban Outfitters' Facebook page exploded with commentary. Every time Urban Outfitters tried to change the conversation, of course, people are going to put their comments about the sweatshirt. You can't change the conversation when everybody is talking about this sweatshirt. Just a really bad judgment by not just Urban Outfitters. I've seen a lot of other companies do this. They'll have a major crisis like this, and while the crisis is still going on, they'll be trying to either change the subject and or sell you some other product and pretend that nothing happened. And people are a lot smarter than that, and people have the tools today, as we all know, to badmouth the company, to criticize it, to take it to task for this kind of action, this kind of behavior. They really got to get with it, and in terms of making sure that early in the process, as soon as this thing hit, as soon as they saw the first wave of comments, they should have had a statement out. And by the way, another big problem that I see here with Urban Outfitters and many other companies is they start to draft a statement like this once the crisis has started. Folks, if you're in the apparel industry, for example, you know that there are a few things that are always going to be on your crisis management plate. One is criticism of your products. If it's clothing, it's controversial slogans and things like that. If it's food, in the food industry, for instance, it's the fear of people getting sick from your product, or the government initiating or suggesting a recall of your product. So these are things that you know in your industry are going to happen. I mean, in the apparel industry, back to the apparel industry for a moment, another example would be clothing that was made by underpaid workers in China and elsewhere. So that whole slave labor issue. These are things that are not new. So you really got to be smart in thinking about the kinds of crisis situations that your industry is most prone to. And so this statement here could have been a lot stronger and a lot deeper had it been drafted long in advance, and especially because Urban Outfitters has been through this many times before, as I said, since at least 2003 when they started the first controversy. So they either are getting bad advice or think they can handle it themselves, but after 12 or 13 years of various controversies, this should have been handled much better than it was. Of course, the first thing is they shouldn't have put out that kind of sweatshirt in the first place, but since they did, they should have reacted much differently, and they've had the experience to get it right. And folks, even if you haven't had a crisis before in your own industry, there are so many case studies out there that tell you how to do it right, that are great examples. We on the Crisis Show since June 2012 have studied these kinds of issues regularly, and if you just go to thecrisisshow.com, you will see myself and my guests talking about how brands respond to crises properly and how they screw it up. And we've looked at many different industries and organizations. So check it out. Check out www.thecrisisshow.com for those past episodes, and you'll learn a lot about those companies that have learned from their mistakes, or when they are even first timers in a crisis, they do the right thing. I believe Urban Outfitters has been deliberate in a desperate attempt to get publicity. I just can't believe that they're that stupid and would continually make these kinds of mistakes with their products. Kind of unbelievable. So I want to just go back and to talk about the history. This is from the Cleveland Plain Deal, which did some research on the company and other examples of controversial products. In May 2013, the company sold shot glasses and flasks that were designed to resemble prescription pill bottles, as well as syringe shot shooters. And that was condemned by the partnership at drugfree.org. In August 2012, they were promoting in August 2012, anti-underage drinking advocates attacked the company for selling alcohol-related T-shirts, which had slogans that included "I vote for vodka," "Misery loves alcohol," "I drink you're cute," and "Say drinking team." In February 2012, the Navajo Nation sued the company months after the tribe sent a cease and desist letter because they were using the Navajo name. Okay, I'm just going down the list here. They've also angered Jewish groups over advertising a T-shirt with a 6-pointed star badge that, to some, strangled the Star of David patch that Jews were forced to wear in Nazi Germany. So that became a problem. And so the list goes on. In 2003, they did a Monopoly knockoff called Getopoly, and it angered the African American community. So they're trying to be sexy. They're trying to be cutting edge. They're trying to be controversial. It'll be very interesting to see what happens going forward if this controversy really sends the stock of the company and the reputation of the company downward. You can get away with this stuff for only so long before the public votes with its pocketbook. And I think because of the coverage that this one got, and I think from my read of this, this Kent State sweatshirt, compared to the earlier crises that Urban Outfitters faced, this one seems to have gotten more attention than any before in the past 13 years, and a much wider reach, of course, as we get into as time marches on as social media gets more sophisticated, easier to use. There are more opportunities and more channels that people can criticize the company. So that's also going to play a role in the future reputation of Urban Outfitters. So again, we read the statement. I will put up some on the Crisis Show website. We'll put up some links that talk about Urban Outfitters, that give the history. What do you think? Please use #TheCrisisShow. We look forward to hearing from you. And again, this is Rich Klein signing off on Wednesday, September 16th. Actually, I think it's Wednesday, September 17th. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.